So, another thing that I wanted to touch on in regards to overthinking that I feel is, like I said in a previous video, I definitely feel it stems from an attempt at perfection, but I also believe it comes from a place of not really trusting in oneself and one's decision making, and just trusting that one can rely on themselves for knowledge and guidance on their journey. You know what I mean? For example, I feel that something I've overthought about in terms of just trusting myself would be like my piercings, right? Because I always thought they were dope when I saw them on other people, but I never had the confidence to really just be like, I want to do this thing by myself, because I would often go to friends and family and be like, hey, what do you think about this? And each time it would always be a negative response, whether it wanted to be, I wanted to dye my piercings.
What do you mean?
Bruh.
What are you talking about?
I wanted to get these piercings done, or dye my locks, or paint my nails, or really anything, tattoos, etc. Every time that I would go ask someone in my corner for perspective and be like, hey, what do you think about this? And it would always be negative, and then I'd be like, all right, well, what would you react? How would you react if I did? They'd be like, oh hell no, man. What the I'd fuck? Be like, well, I guess I'm not doing it then, because when you build such a foundation of self off of other people's opinions and perspectives, you don't really do things genuinely for yourself, because you're doing it for their approval, because you believe them to be correct over you, because you don't know what it's like to just trust in you and to be who you want to be, who's really right for you. Because maybe you grew up and you wanted to be yourself and you were yourself, but then people didn't really nurture those truths within you, and you went out looking for it in other people and they rejected it, so you conformed to be what they wanted, is somewhat how my life went. I definitely believe that as a younger kid, I definitely can reflect back and remember times I really felt in my truth, but then people would tell me, oh, this is doing too much, or this is annoying, or it's mad weird, cringy, etc. Or they would just laugh at me. And I definitely closed a lot of that off to be appealing to girls, the boys, and even adults, just to have their approval of, Josiah is a good kid. Josiah is a great kid, and a lot of it really took a toll on me, more than I even really anticipated for or even realized, because I wasn't as self-aware as I could have been, because I was really living on autopilot, but also really just living for the sake of people's opinions. And it can be extremely draining to live like that, because it never feels like it's enough no matter what you do, because you give them what they claim they want, but then it doesn't seem appealing to them, even though that's exactly what they said they wanted. But it's not even that that's what they wanted, they just don't want you. And it's coming to realize you literally can't just live your life trying to please everyone, and you can't live your life feeding off of their opinions and things. And it's just realizing to trust oneself and to know thyself, I feel, is becoming the most important thing outside of knowing someone better than you know you. Because if you are at the source of this life and you want to share space of life with other people, how can it be as authentic and genuine and flourishing if at the center, at the core, it's dead on the inside? So it's just realizing that trusting oneself and really trusting outside of the noise of the brain and the ego and the attempt at control for perfection, and to really trust oneself to make decisions, to know themselves honestly, and to stand on it no matter how loud it gets, I believe is more empowering and true strength than I've even depicted in this video, or that I've even realized in this moment, because I've actively been building on trusting myself over time. And I still struggle, because sometimes it gets so loud and I get scared and I overthink, and I'm like, what if? But then I always end up coming back to just remember that the loudness is there to test you, to see if you remember how strong you really are, because the strength is within. And to really trust oneself to keep walking even when things are jumping out at you and it's getting loud and it's trying to get you to crumble, but you stand tall. I believe that that speaks numbers. To know, even to know even through the noise, to know through even the doubt, because I feel like the noise creates doubt, but the doubt isn't even really there because it's just there to teach you that you have the power to keep going. Because once I realized that it was just me and all of this is just me and it's a reflection and it's all meant to teach me something to help me evolve, I realized that there really isn't anything to be afraid of and that I'm just teaching myself as I'm growing as a person. And it's important to stand on that belief for myself in order to continuously build on that mental strength as well as that spiritual, emotional strength, and to walk in my truth even through the noise, knowing that there's nothing to truly be worried about literally at all. Like, there is literally not a goddamn thing to be worried about. I promise. Peace and love.
Oh my